Welcome to episode 4 of How to Do Character Voices with the Beginner Player. This is a series just for your regular old player with no voice acting experience to help you show up to your table and create an interesting personality that your players will remember. Today, we're going to be doing something pretty fun. We're going to do a lizard man. And when I think of a lizard man, I think of this sort of big, scaly-looking creature with, cold-blooded, and they're really just kind of interesting lore-wise. They're very, survival-oriented, and kind of a lot of them grow up in like swamps and stuff, or in jungles, and in populations with lots of lizard man. I usually throw dinosaurs and stuff in there just to add flavor. Today we're going to be making a voice for one. And when I think of a lizard man, I usually think of a character that's a bit more constricted, a little bit lower pitch, and then adds a lot of S into how they talk. So, just a quick recap of episode 1, in case you haven't seen that. There are 4 basic elements we can use to create an interesting personality with our character. The first element is how fast they talk. Do they talk really fast or really slow? The next element was pitch. Do they low pitch or on a high pitch? And then the next element was breathiness. Is it constricted or is it breathy? And then the last element was loudness. Are they loud or are they soft? For lizardmen, I usually picture a character that talks a bit slower, has a low pitch, so they're a bit more slower, and they've got a low pitch just about right about over here, and then they add a bit of constriction to it, and it sounds a bit like this. Add a little bit of constriction to your sound, and then make it a little bit louder. So, to add that lizard man vibe, the last thing we want to do is really push an sound in what we're doing. So make a s, and then try to build the voice off that with first low pitch, sa, sa, and then constricted, sa, and then we can maybe form some sentences with that. I saw a tree along the way, and I stalked it and followed it. The tree ran many miles, but I was faster. Me, fast. One more element is I usually put a lot of air kind of over the top of the voice. So if you want to add air to your voice, here's a regular sound, just like this, and then really push out with your lungs and kind of picture it overlapping your voice. So, and then let a little bit of air out while you're doing that. So we're going to do it quick without, and then add. So you can kind of hear when I'm pushing out with my lungs and adding breath to the voice and when I'm not. You can constrict and add breath at the same time. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but it is actually very effective to create some interesting sounds, which is exactly what we're going to do with our lizard man. So go ahead and take a moment to think to yourself, what does your lizard man sound like? Is he a bit of a fast talker and really thinks about what he's going to say, but is very jittery with it? Or is he a bit on the slower side, really taking a moment to think about his words and what he has to say? And then pitch. Is he a bit lower and more threatening, perhaps? Maybe he's a bit bigger and stronger. Or maybe he's a bit on the higher side. Maybe a bit more nefarious and stalking around and thinking on what he has to say. Is he constricted or is he a bit more breathy? So is he a bit more constricted, a little more threatening sounding? Or is he a bit more breathy? Take some time to think about what he has to say. More whispery. And is he loud and threatening sounding? And is he angry? Or is he a bit more quiet and conniving? And, of course, you can kind of add the singing to it. Alternating from a low pitch to a high pitch. Going from here to there. And then one last touch to really push your character over the edge and add that last bit. Is to add like your character's kind of talking through a long mouth with a lot of like saliva and a long tongue. And that sounds like, I did a little bit before, but just to kind of give you a little bit, that sounds a bit like, here, are you there? Snake. And that kind of adds that last bit of character. I wouldn't do it too much, like if you're trying to make a character that's a bit serious. If you're trying to make something that your players are going to laugh at, then, which I always do. I usually try to make a character with such a personality that we like, oh, we know this character and we can laugh with it, you know? So I just sort of add like that, just that little bit of interesting flavor. So if you want to make a character that has that extra bit of personality and really convey that he's kind of like a lizard, you can add that last bit as well. So take a moment, think to yourself, run back through those things real quick, and is he fast? Is he slow? Is he low or high? Is he breathy or constricted? Is he loud or soft? And then add that sound as you're talking, and then finally a little bit of as if he's struggling when he breathes in to move his tongue around. Happy voice acting. Hope that brings some joy and fun to your table. Stay awesome.